Hey guys, Chris the Midwest Bass Hunter. With all the panic and hysteria over the coronavirus, I decided to stock up on what's really important, bass lures. Alright guys, so the coronavirus has definitely got me freaked out, and so I thought I better get some fishing lures before they all disappeared like the toilet paper. We all know it's coming. People are going to make a mad rush on fishing lures, so went on the old interwebs. I went to tacklefreaks.com, right there, tacklefreaks.com, and I picked up some stuff. All right, let's see what we got in here. Oh, this is fluorocarbon line. 15-pound vicious fluorocarbon line. Nobody wants to talk about line, that's boring. For starters, we got a couple of spinnerbaits. Z-Man brand. These are called sling blades. Let's pop one of these open and see what we got here. So I've never really had any spinnerbaits from Z-Man, but they have been making spinnerbaits for who knows how long time I'm sure. This one's a little bit different. It's got a couple of features. The wire's a little different, and the bottom of the jig head is got kind of a groove in it. So it says the head design, it's got that grooved underbelly, and that eliminates it from rolling over. So, you know, you can be fishing a spinnerbait sometimes. And a lot of times, I think if you reel them too fast, they kind of want to go to the side. Or if the blade gets, or the wire gets bent a little bit, then they'll kind of roll. Won't track quite right. You got to kind of bend them back into shape. Well, I have to see how that works. And then it talks about this low visibility stainless steel live wire frame. It vibrates similar to piano wire, but it's far more durable. So that's pretty interesting. 5/0 VMC hook. And of course, like it's a tied skirt on there. Like copper wire tied skirt. So this is interesting. I'm sure this will be a good bait. I love spinnerbaits. In fact, I'm fishing a kayak tournament coming up here in April. And this is one of my main tactics I'll be using that day is fishing spinnerbaits. So we'll see. Might tie these bad boys on and try them out. All right, moving on. We have a square bill crankbait from Lucky Craft. And Lucky Craft baits are made in Japan. And actually, you can actually read the back of this one. The last one I got was all in Japanese. Couldn't read any of it. So this is a Lucky Craft 2.5 square bill crankbait. And it is in a bluegill color. It's a great looking bait. Bluegill is a great color for where I'm at. We get, you know, lots of bluegill. That's what bass are eating up here. And it's got a nice little rattle in it. But bluegill color is the color right here. Square bill crankbait. These are deadly. Just throw them around docks, throw them around riprap, wood, through grass, whatever, through vegetation. And they just flat out catch bass. Oh man, look, it's got a little scratch in it. This one got messed up. But I don't think that'll hurt anything. All right, so this bait company, Jenko, I really haven't ever had anything from these guys, and I got a couple of items from them in this order. I don't know much about the company, but this is called a CD2 square bill crankbait, 3/4 ounce. Now, it's not very big. This bait is smaller than this bait, but this one is heavier. And just a really awesome paint job. I mean, this thing is blinging. Also a bluegill style color. They also use VMC hooks. Armed with VMC hooks. Yeah. Jenko CD squared is what it's called. That is a sweet looking thing. Springtime is the time for jerkbaits. So here I have this is a Strike King Walleye Elite. So they call it a walleye bait, but this is a great bait for bass fishing. This is deep diving crankbait, or I'm sorry, deep diving jerkbait. It says it dives to 11 feet. And I'm sure you guys know for a jerkbait, that's pretty deep. This color is called Strobe Shad, and you can see it's kind of holographic looking, pretty fancy little paint job on this bad boy. And it's translucent, so I fish a lot of really clean water, and the translucent just seems to really do the job in cleaner, clear water. So I always try and get some baits that are kind of fit that profile. Not every lake I fish is really clean, but one of the main lakes I fish is really, really clean. So these just seem to help for some reason. I don't know exactly why, but the translucent colors seem to do better. This is a pretty large bait. I don't know what it weighs. Let's see here. Yeah, it doesn't really say what it weighs, but it's got to weigh at least 3/4 of an ounce or over half an ounce, 5/8 to 3/4 of an ounce. It's got 3 big old hooks on it. So my plan is to use this to catch some smallmouth bass in deeper water. So there we go. All right, next up, another jerkbait, and this is from that company we just talked about, Jenko. And this is called a, let's see here, Pursues 110. And it's a 1/2 ounce suspending jerkbait. The color on this one is Gag on It green. That's a pretty good color, because the bass will be choking it. This thing is got a couple of rattles in there. Once again, you see I've gotten this kind of a translucent color. It looked really good when I was browsing through stuff on the website, so I picked it up. As you can see, it's got these beads inside for making noise. There's 2 of them up here, and then there's 3 back here. The 3 in the back don't really move, but the ones up front, they do. And so what happens when you cast this bait, those little beads, those little balls there, they're gonna go up into this track to the back of the bait, and it's gonna help you with your cast, to help you to cast farther. Just like that other Jenko square bill, just a great paint job on these things. And it's kind of has that same kind of holographic looking metallic side to it as that other jerkbait we were just looking at. And VMC hooks on this as well. Can't wait to get out and throw some jerkbaits around. Next up, we have a 6th Sense Quake Thud 70. So this is a lipless crankbait. It says here 70 is how long it is, 70 millimeters, and then it weighs a 1/2 ounce. So, you know, about the same size as a lot of other lipless crankbaits, and these are just killer in the springtime. So it's a nice little lipless crankbait. You can see kind of the profile of the bait right there. When you reel this through the water, obviously it's going to vibrate, have a real tight vibration, and you kind of, there's a lot of ways you can reel it in. You can just throw it out and retrieve it. You can kind of almost jig it and kind of bring it back, you know, retrieve it, let it fall a little bit, retrieve it, let it fall a little bit. And it's just a great way to catch bass in the spring when it's cold. I'm not sure what it's supposed to imitate. Let's see if we can see the color. It's called Electric Reaction is the color. It has a knocking rattle chamber. We can definitely hear that. Dual flat back designs, 2 flat areas on the back to increase vibration. So these 2 flat areas, they're saying, increases vibration. So yeah, 6th Sense. I haven't used a bunch of their stuff either. So they're kind of a company that I'm going to try out. There's a couple other baits in here I think I have from them. So interested and excited to get these out on the water. I got me some bladed jigs. Thunder Cricket. Now this thing was a big deal last year. I never did get one. I have tons and tons of chatterbaits and bladed jigs and different brands, different styles, different everything. I do love bladed jigs. I use them a lot, but I hadn't got the Thunder Cricket yet. And let's see, I want to point something out to you guys about the Thunder Cricket. And I learned this from Debo over at Debo's Fishing. Right here. So this says it's sold under license of U.S. patent numbers, yada, 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 owned by Z-Man Fishing Products Incorporated. So basically, Strike King paid Z-Man, who invented the well, they didn't invent the chatterbait, but they were the first company to really mass produce a bladed jig called the chatterbait. They actually let Strike King use the patent to make this bait. So it's going to be a lot like a chatterbait. Now, it is different. It's got a different shaped blade. And what I've been hearing, and I haven't, like I said, I haven't fished this yet, but what I've been hearing is that different shaped blade gives it a different action. I heard it's a little bit more, what's the word? It's like a tighter vibration. It kind of looks like a bluegill. And like I said earlier, bluegill is a really good color up here for where I'm at, what I'm fishing. So a lot of bass are eating bluegills. Or bass are eating a lot of bluegills up here. So this is cool. I'm excited to get this thing out on the water. I will very likely stick a camera under the water and film this thing and see if I can compare it to like a jackhammer or a regular chatterbait and see, you know, how much different it reacts and acts when it's in action. All right, I got a couple other bladed jigs from a different company. And I've used these before, not this particular model, but I've used a lot of bladed jigs from this company, Picasso. And they are kind of expensive. This one right here was almost $14. This one is a lot cheaper. This is $8.50. This is kind of like their base model. But here we've got this, it's called the shock blade. And this is this one they call special effects. And as you can tell, it's like bucktail. It's a hair jig type bait. This would be really good in the springtime because it's a little bit smaller profile. Fish aren't as active, but they're still feeding. So when this gets in the water and this hair gets wet and it's got a couple of feathers on there, and then it has a little bit of tinsel in there. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a little bit of tinsel in the skirt. I wouldn't use a trailer on this thing because obviously this is imitating, you know, the fish, the tail of the fish. And so I think this would really just be killer for smallmouth. The next one we have from Picasso is the shock blade. This is the standard model, no fancy special effects or whatever. Just a good old shock blade. And this one, green pumpkin tiger. So on this model, it has a nice long hook. So you can put a big trailer on there, and then it's got a little keeper to keep your soft plastic on there. And these are just a rubber band skirt. And it is designed that you can remove that skirt and replace it. And obviously they have a really nice paint job on these baits, and their skirts look really good too. The blade is similar to, you know, the traditional chatterbait. It's a little more round, and it's got the little curve on top, and then it's got the little wire tie. Got some topwater baits. Now, it's not really topwater time, but I went ahead and picked up some baits. I love topwater baits. I'm kind of a nerd for them. A lot of times I pick up baits that are kind of outrageous just because I want to see, you know, I just want to have some goofy stuff. This is called a Grinch from Jackal. It's about 3/4 of an ounce or 7/10 of an ounce and 5.3 inches long. And this is a soft-bodied fish. Basically, they call it, right here you can see, it's a frog plus a paddle tail worm. New way to retrieve a frog. Which, they call it a frog, but it looks like a fish, so I don't know, whatever. It does not look like a frog. But obviously it's gonna act like a frog. It's a soft-bodied bait. Hollow body, just like a soft-body frog. And it's gonna float on top of the water. And then it's got like this boot tail, which is reversed. So typically on a swim bait, the boot tail is underneath, but on this, it's facing upwards. And this is actually replaceable. There's instructions on the back of the package on how to replace it. How to lock a tail, which obviously then you have to buy some of these from Jackal. So this is interesting. This will be fun when the weeds, you know, when things get weeded up in the late spring, summertime. I'm definitely going to chuck this thing around, drag it across some mats, see if I can get some fish to come up and plow this thing. I just saw it. It's kind of odd, so I thought I better pick one of them up. All right, next we've got a Spro Bronzeye Popped 60, Dean Rojas. Spro frog. So I've used a lot of frogs. I've never used any spros. Heard obviously that heard lots of good things about them. They have like a spro frog tournament where all you can fish is with spro frogs. Obviously, I've never fished in that. Oh yeah, right there. Oh no, that's not that. So it talks about here. It's got a cupped, mouth, just like any other popper, popping frog, and makes that popping sound that drives fish crazy. Let's pop it. So this is 60 millimeters long, and it weighs a ½ ounce. So typical of a lot of frogs size-wise. And this is what is this color? Black Widow is the color, and that's pretty awesome looking. I don't know if it really matters what color your frog is a lot of times, but this is just a sweet looking frog. And something about these two, they're kind of already pre-trimmed, so a lot of times you get frogs and the legs are really long. These are about the perfect length, so you don't have to mess around trimming them. This will be awesome to get out on the water. From 6 cents, I got a Splashback 90, and this is a popper, and this is a bone color. They call it Spanish bone. And a couple things about it here. We'll open this thing up. It is different from any popper I've ever seen. And like I said earlier, I've never really used anything from 6 cents, but I saw these, and so I thought I better pick them up to try it. So this thing is definitely different shaped. It's almost triangular shaped, and they have a reason for that. So it says that the V-shaped design is shaped to cut through the water and walk the dog with ease. It's got a nice, like kind of a pearl clear coat on it. Again, it's kind of translucent. It's not as translucent as them other baits. This is a pretty big bait too. Let's see, it's 3/4 of an ounce and like 90 millimeters long. Everything's in millimeters. I don't know why, but freaking metric system. Anyways, we've got this nice little feathered back treble hook, which is a great idea. Even if your bait doesn't come with that, it's a good idea to get some feathered hooks and throw them on. They just kind of add a little bit more action and seem to get more bites with them. This is probably one of the most unique looking poppers I've ever seen, so I'm definitely excited to get this thing out there. This happens to be the most expensive bass fishing lure I've ever purchased, which I don't know how I feel about this thing. But it was neat looking, and to be honest, I don't know how this thing will catch fish, but it definitely caught me. It's a Mega Bass Prop Darter Eye Loud is what it's called, which is kind of a ridiculous name. And it's a ridiculous bait. As you can see, it has a amazing paint job on it. Looks like a piece. This is like fisherman bling right here. This bait cost me $30. And like I said, I'm not sure how I feel about that at the moment, but we'll see. So this is a Topwater bait, and I'd love to tell you about it, but it's all in Japanese, so I can't. Oh wait, there's a word there, right? Oh, loud. It's 103 millimeters long, like I said, metric system, and it is 1 ounce, so it's a big bait. And it was designed by Yuki Ito. It's a topwater wake bait. So essentially, it's got this big bill on it, but it doesn't dive. It doesn't dive under the water. It just causes it to kind of swim back and forth like this. And they call them wake baits. It just makes a wake in the water. Now, this one's a little bit different. It's jointed. A lot of wake baits are just, they're not jointed. They don't have a segmented body. This is segmented, so that's gonna add a little bit more action. And then back here, it's got kind of an old school prop, just a metal prop. So that's gonna spin in the water when you're retrieving it and leave a little bubble trail back there. Let's see if we can hear what this thing inside sounds like. Oh yeah. So that's got a pretty good distinctive, kind of a heavy sound to it. Plus you're gonna get some noise from the segmented portion. I mean, this thing is going to be like making a racket under the water. And it is a bluegill color. Like I said, all throughout this video, bluegill's one of the most popular bait fish for bass in the area that I live in. And you can see this thing is like a piece of jewelry. It's just beautiful. So it's kind of ridiculous, and you guys can tell me how stupid I am for spending $30 on a bass fishing lure. Go ahead. But I saw it, and I was like, dang, I got to have this stupid thing. So that's what I did. I bought one. Hopefully it works. Last but not least, I got some swim baits. So here's another one from 6 Cents. This is called a Speed Glide, and it's a 7/8 ounce, 100 millimeter segmented swim bait, kind of a glide bait. Like the other 6 Cents baits, looks really good, and also in the bluegill color. This is kind of an expensive bait, but actually in swim bait terms, I mean, this thing is pretty much, I mean, it's pretty cheap. This thing is $10. So there's obviously swim baits out there that cost like $500. So, you know, if you want to get in the swim bait game, start with something like this, because, you know, you might not even like fishing it. So you want to know that it's going to work out for you. So you can spend $10 on this and you're not out too much. All right, last bait that I have in the box, the River to Sea S-Waver. So this is a pretty popular swim bait, and it's big. It's a bigger swim bait, and it's not too expensive. I actually tried to get a bluegill one of these, but they were sold out of it. They didn't know when they were going to get them in, so I was like, nah, I don't want to wait. So I picked up this color. This color should work good. Translucent, good for clear water. Yeah, nothing too fancy here. Just two segments, 2 big hooks. I mean, these are big hooks. Heavy-duty hooks. I don't know what they use for hooks. Let's see. River to Sea has their own hooks, so it's a River to Sea hook. And something's a little different. The line tie on this is facing, it's kind of horizontal instead of vertical. I don't know if that really matters much, but it's a little different. Oh, the hooks are sharp. So yeah, this thing is a big fish killer. Now, that being said, I've caught a lot of small fish on kind of bigger baits too. So I'm sure this will catch all kinds of fish. The area that I live in, we have a lot of northern pike and muskie. So this thing is actually would be a good bait for both of those species of fish as well. Now, this is a long bait. It is 6 3/4 inches long, and it weighs over 1.5 ounces. You just chuck this thing out there and slowly wind it in. You know, you can change up your retrieve a little bit, pause it, you know, kind of snap it a little bit, and it's just going to swim along like a fish. And fish eat fish, so they're going to come and see it, and they're going to eat it. Makes a little bit of noise from that, but it doesn't have any rattles in it. So it's not like a lot of these baits with rattles in them. Yeah, so there we go. I'm excited to throw some swim baits this year and kind of see how it goes for me. I picked up all this stuff on tacklefreaks.com. It's a good online tackle store. I'll leave a link in the description below so you can get to their tackle store and check out what they've got. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Hit that little bell down here so you don't miss any of our great fishing content. Our lakes are just thawing out, so we should be getting out fishing here any day now. We're done ice fishing for the season, and now we're excited to get all these bass lures out and chuck them around and see what we can catch. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.